Yeah, we just got done on our Patreon membership channel with the Let's Just Chat show. Yeah, CHA's Let's Just Chat show has moved to the Patreon membership channel. And that link is in the video description below for quicker access. You can, you can join us on those lives every Sunday around 2 p.m. Eastern time for the Let's Just Chat show on our Patreon membership channel for just $5 a month. And then we also have the Motivational Monday show on the Patreon channel. We also have the Saturday Bible study on the Patreon membership channel as well. So you can join us every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday live on the Patreon channel for as little as $5 a month. Remember, everything that you all sow into this ministry goes right back into our growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. But I wanted to get up here and talk about autonomic nervous system, ANS, healing post-narcissistic abuse. So while those notifications are going out, I'm going to do our quick check because it is very important to understand that the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, is our inner child. Hello there. Hello. Welcome to this quick message today. And because one of the many things that we all learn is you must overcome triggers, right? Well, we do that. But if we're not aware of our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, and how it's responding to external stimuli and to our moves, I want to bring this back. Remember, the autonomic nervous system responds to us too on how we move. So if you are, let's say there's a fly flying around. You'll hear this again. If there's a fly flying around and you're constantly smacking at stuff, well, you're basically sending a shock to your ANS. Keep that in mind. Okay? The things that we do to ourselves. But also the external stimuli being the radio frequencies and chemicals in the air and all of that. And yes, Chris, thank you. It's like the body will feel what the mind is going through because remember, your autonomic nervous system, the ANS, operates subconsciously, automatically. Okay? And so the body will feel what the mind, what the mind is going through. So if you're going through the renewing of the mind, your body's going to feel that. And I'm going to tell you, the more that we purge that subconscious mind of a bunch of worldly garbage, the more burdens we take off of our shoulders. Because I'm learning, like many of y'all, on this journey in the spiritual awakening and God's reality, we're learning that life is really simple. It really is. God is a simple God. Life is not supposed to be complicated. So get that autonomic nervous system, the ANS, healed. Come on, we can do this. Okay? Because even though we, the adult, can be healed from trauma, yes. So nothing's triggering us, but it can still trigger the ANS if the ANS is traumatized. And yes, the ANS can be re-traumatized over and over and over again until, ding, 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 we become aware of it responding to these things. We become aware of it being triggered. Not us being triggered, but it, because it really is. Chris pointed this out a while ago, where becoming aware of your ANS is like getting to know a whole nother person on the inside of you. And that's true, because your ANS is your inner child. So you have to remember yourself as a child to understand your ANS better. Why your ANS is responding in fear to the sight of that? Because when you were a child, your ANS remembers that. Even though you outgrew it, you're a grown adult. You're not afraid of anything because we know perfect love casts out all fear. But your ANS doesn't know that. If it gets re-traumatized, it's going to be triggered by the same stuff that you were once afraid of as a child. Let that sink in. And so things like that can trigger the ANS. So it is amazing how deep trauma can be held in the body and take patience and practice to release all of that tension. I'm telling you, Yeah, that's why ANS awareness is so crucial for trauma healing all the way. Because, like I said, we can be reconnected in mind, body, and spirit. That's psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually, yeah. Okay? But if we're not aware of our ANS responding to things, it can be re-traumatized, and then it gets triggered. And if we don't become aware of it doing that and it being triggered, eventually we can be re-traumatized. Yes, that's what God revealed to me. And I went, oh, no. We're not going to let that happen. Because you got to remember something. Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing. The Jezebel case study, all she did was cause a bunch of muscle tension because she just caused the appearance of me being traumatized again. I'm not. My ANS got re-traumatized, but not me. This is why I'm bringing this to you all. Because this narcissistic matrix and the narcissists out here, they want us to have all that muscle tension because they don't want our body to circulate. They don't want us to be healthy. But God wants us to be healthy. I'm going to tell you that right now. And so, yeah, that tension, the muscle tension, it goes deep. And we got to become aware of it. And that's what we're doing here. And learn not to be insensitive to the whole other person on the inside. Yeah, right. Don't be insensitive to that inner child either. You learn how to become the parent of it. It does need discipline, and then it also will need some coddling from time to time. And you'll know, you and the Godhead will work it out for you, however it works for you. I can get up here and help you get the awareness. I can help you learn how to become aware of it. I can help because I've done it. Okay? Not only because I am a trained trauma specialist, but I'm qualified by God because I went through the experience. My ANS became a case study. And so that's why I've been able to bring you all a lot of tips to the Trauma Intensive Healing Course #1 at CHA Academy. You will find the Academy link in the description below. Okay? When you go there, that takes you to How to Trauma Bond this form. So I highly encourage y'all to take a look at that. But click on all courses, and you will see the Trauma Intensive Healing Course #1, the inner workings of your ANS. Because that was during the season where my ANS, there's 25 short chapters. There's no quiz, but you get a certificate of completion when you finish. Okay? And so, right, and you may not even realize that you have all sorts of muscle knots and stuff. That's what we're discovering. I'm like, wow, and those are air pockets. So, and not feel it. See, that's the thing. If your ANS is numb and you're not aware of your ANS, then you may not even know you have all that muscle tension. You have all those air pockets being trapped. You have all that. And that means that your circulation is not where it should be because the matrix doesn't want our bodies to be healthy. It doesn't want our brains to be clear. It doesn't want us to figure this stuff out. Well, that's too bad because God is in full control. Glory be to God. And I saw there's a fellow warrior that came out with a message. I got to bring it to y'all. I'm going to share it with y'all because I've told y'all the monitoring spirits, all they can do is watch. That's all they can do is watch. And I can tell you right now, I heard, there's a fellow warrior that said that the one who were trying to destroy us are trying to figure out how in the world how is it that we're getting better? How is it that we're doing this? How is it that we're still showing up? How is it that things are turning around in our favor again? How is it? Well, his name is Jesus for one. And for another, we're purging our subconscious mind. It's called the renewing of the mind. We are being transformed into the best version that God intended for us to become. And there ain't nothing that can stop that. I tell you that all the time. I said nothing can stop God. And so when we are getting things back on track, we get this body back in shape. We are figuring out that, we just talked about the over-supplementation in the Let's Just Chat show on the Patreon membership channel because that's exactly what we've learned that we got to unlearn because we got conditioned by the matrix to do that, to believe and to think that we need all these different supplements. No, you need food. Your muscles need food. Okay, so Chris says, how do we handle someone being abusive in our faces, like new narcissistic abuse or random abuse when out and about, like meeting a road rager, for example? Okay, how do you handle someone being abusive in your face? Okay, because while they're trying to re-traumatize your ANS, okay, and the best way, remember, overcome evil with good, Romans 12, verse 21, right? Overcome evil with good. That's it. And if you've got somebody who is road raging at you, the best response is no response. Okay? The best response is no response. If you can help it, leave it in your peripheral. Don't even look at them. Don't acknowledge them. Okay? Because there's no reason to. That's their problem. Okay? If they are out there road raging, and you catch it in your peripheral, leave it there. Don't look at them. Don't acknowledge them. Keep your doors locked. And remain neutral. Exactly. Keep your empathy off when you're out there. Once you get control of your empathy, you got to keep it off. Okay? Because that's what they're trying to get an emotional read on you. And, don't do, And then if they are doing stuff like that, being abusive in your face. For example, I had a coworker who was an overt, and I mean very overt, bully in a toxic workplace. And he got my face yelling, which basically confirmed what I was investigating anyway, like who keyed my car. I knew it was him anyhow, but I was just investigating. And so, a narcissist, nobody gets madder than a narcissist being accused of something that they did do, right? Okay. So he basically told on himself, came and got in my face, and I remained neutral. I let the fool finish speaking first, and then all I said when he was done is I just said, is that a yes or a no? Very calmly. And I'm going to tell you what he did. He turned around and stomped off. There was nothing. He couldn't get nothing. So that's how I handled that. And they want to be looking for, that's what I'm saying. You got to understand that's another thing. Is that these abusers are going to be looking for a trigger in you, and they want you to react back. They want you to engage in that reactive abuse because it used to work in the past. Y'all got to remember something. When we overcome triggers that used to work in the past, that's all the devil got. That's all the narcissist got. And so now it's just head games. It's just head game. And so do I have a history? No, I do not have a history with that coworker. Oh, he definitely was. Okay, he's very overt and a very overt bully. And so I did not put it past that narcissist to know that he was a violent one. But, it's unfortunate, but at least he didn't lay hands on me because he knows if he had did that. I mean, it was in the workplace. And, but even so, he would have gotten locked up. So, got to remember that, okay? And so, I do remember how my ANS responded to that because I remember there's several fear responses that the ANS has. Goosebumps, okay, is one primary one, goosebumps, and that comes at different, let's just say there's different levels, if you will. Like some goosebumps might just be and then some goosebumps might be really, really pronounced. It depends on what it is. From your five senses. Never forget that, y'all. Your autonomic nervous system is highly dependent on your five senses to make the correct interpretation as to whether or not something is a threat. Okay, remember that's your sight, sound, your hearing. Okay, that's sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Okay, your ANS is highly dependent on those five senses to make the correct interpretation as to whether or not something is a threat. And if it misinterprets something as a threat that you know is not a threat, then that is your parental responsibility of your inner child to step in and go, okay, hold on a second, let's help you unlearn that negative association and let's make the correct association. If it's a sound and your ANS needs to see that sound is not a threat, that becomes our responsibility to make that happen. And it works. Tried and true. Okay, and so you're asking about that overt bully from that workplace. Why did he key my car? Because he's a narcissist. And that was the demon of jealousy. Because he made comments many times at that time that, when the car was a little younger, he kept making comments about how nice my car was. And there wasn't anything wrong with his car. You see? But you know how narcissists are. They covet thy neighbor. God clear about do not covet thy neighbor. But they do that anyway. So that was his issue, jealousy. And just out of spite. You gotta remember, narcissists do stuff like that out of spite. Okay? Yeah, and well, yeah, and to see if it would bother me. And it didn't really bother me. I wanted confirmation into my investigation. I suspected the overt bully did it anyway, because he's the one that made the most comments about my car. So it didn't take long to get confirmation. But I learned that, if something like that happened, I learned my lesson. Just don't say nothing. You know, your gut instinct told you who did it. You know that was the correct one, and you could have saved all. But I also learned that my ANS was responding. And then another fear response for the ANS is at the tailbone area, the upper buttocks will tighten up. They will lift up and tighten up. That is another fear response of the ANS. So, well, yeah, I mean, somebody getting in your face, that's not pleasant. But I kept my cool. And like I said, I let him finish talking, yelling. And I just said, is that a yes or a no? And he had to stomp off. But he did get himself fired because he, not too long after that, threatened to kill a fellow employee. That got him fired. So, rightfully so. Well, see, that's how narcissists are. Okay? And, oh, yeah. And I remember some other narcissists that were claiming that it shows how toxic he was when others were relieved that he was no longer working there. And I'm like, wow. Coming from a narcissist, that's really interesting. But I didn't say that to her because I knew that's what she was. But I was like, okay. It's interesting. It's interesting. Narcissists can recognize a toxic person, but not in themselves, it seems. So, we're going to go ahead and let me see if I got anybody got any other question, okay? But ANS awareness, ANS healing post-narcissistic abuse, it takes time. So you've got to give yourself the space and time. And so if you'd like to learn more about ANS healing with ANS awareness, stay with us because that is part of our ministry. That is part of our movement, combating radio frequencies for healthier living, because that is part of trauma healing. So we got trauma healing and spiritual growth going on. Okay, so it says, so any tips for relaxing the ANS? Yes, and I just put these three together for you all, and you're going to see them on TikTok, you're going to see it on Instagram, and you're going to see it on Facebook. The top 3 tips that I'm going to highlight for you all that I have learned, tried and true, because your ANS is your inner child. You have to think of yourself as when you were a child. Don't live there. And there are plenty of tips on the CHA Academy site. Yes, thank you, Chris. There are, and there are more coming because we're not done yet. That's part of our movement. God gave that to us. Okay, God gave that to us. So that we don't allow our autonomic nervous system to get re-traumatized anymore. Yeah, because of the awareness. Remember, I tell y'all a lot that when you become aware of something, the more aware of it you are, it's not going to have the intended negative effect on you anymore. It can't. And then eventually it stops working on the ANS too when you become aware of the ANS being triggered. So the top 3 tips I have for relaxing the ANS: comfort, familiarity, okay, and positivity. Because think of yourself as a child with those. Anywhere you went somewhere that you were not familiar with as a child, it felt a little bit like a little scary, huh? Okay, think of your ANS as that child. Okay, don't live in the past, no, but just remember, God did this for a reason. He said, I need you to understand. This is how the devil and the world treats people as kids all the time. So you kind of have to think of your autonomic nervous system as you being that child. Because if you go as a child, going someplace that was completely knew, okay, if it wasn't a theme park or something that was for children, it could be a little intimidating, a little scary. So think of your ANS this way. So it likes familiarity. I have learned this, tried and true. When it has familiarity, it will relax. Because along with the familiarity comes that comfort. And so we learn how to keep it comfortable. It does not like extreme temperature changes. So, for example, because see, the weather here, where we're at in Texas, it gets a lot cooler in the night than it is in the day right now. So as the evening comes on in, the sun starts to go down, then I know I've got to put a light sweatshirt on. I can leave my shorts on, but because my legs are fine, but my upper body gets a little bit chilly. And so so the ANS is a little bit uncomfortable for a moment, but then I put that sweatshirt on, that light sweatshirt on. So okay. That's the kind of comfort I'm talking about. Not a comfort zone, but keeping the ANS comfortable. That way and so I have enough clothes out, folded on the rack to be able to do that throughout the day as temperatures change, to keep the ANS comfortable. It relaxes. And then familiarity, okay? There was a season where we were doing a lot of car videos and my ANS healed once before. So now God's got us, He got us utilizing that season as far as routine familiarity for the ANS. And it's working. And then positivity. As a child, did you like that negative stuff? You're like, oh man, it was so disappointing, right? But happy and high vibing and positive stuff as a child, right? Well, your inner child, your ANS, like that positivity also. That positivity helps it relax. So those are your top 3 tips. And only you and the Heavenly Father can remember a season in your life where your ANS felt safe. That familiarity. Because as long as your ANS can feel safe and secure, it's going to relax and it will heal a lot faster. And physical comfort. Yeah, comfort, familiarity, and positivity. Absolutely. And so you can add continuity. Okay, yes. Yes, thank you, Chris, because that would be consistency. Your ANS prefers consistency. Absolutely. Think about the narcissist, right? Their actions never matching words, so they had you walking on eggshells. The ANS don't like that. That's unstable, right? Well, stability and consistency go hand in hand, and that helps the ANS feel safe and secure, so it will relax. So yes, stability is another one, okay? So keep that in mind, you all, for ANS healing, post-narcissistic abuse, and beyond. And welcome to our growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ here at Consulting for Heightened Awareness, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center, with ANS as part of our movement, combating radio frequencies for healthier living, because that is also trauma healing and spiritual growth included. So I highly encourage y'all to check out the links below. The CHA Academy BTBW.com link below. When you go there, you click on all courses. You will see the Trauma Intensive Healing course number 1, the inner workings of our ANS. Not just in that course, but when you enroll in the course, there's tips for ANS healing all through. There's 25 short tips. Okay? There's no quiz. You get a certificate of completion. Now, don't forget your coupon code CHAA25 and get yourself 25% off that one-time payment. If you can't do the one-time payment right now, you can click on that arrow and you can make 5 monthly installments. Once you enroll in the course, you gain access to the community forum where you will find additional fun fact videos with more ANS healing tips. There you go. All right, everybody. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up. Yes, and I know I'll see you on the replay as well. I look forward to reading your insights in the comments. Until next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.